Okay, and this next demo, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make 3 value charts for my tints, tones, and shades, but this time I'll be completing it using watercolor for those of you that are working with watercolor. Okay, so again, you want your 3 value charts to be about 6 inches in length. So inches are on this side, my bad. And just the perimeter of the ruler works, because the width of the ruler is actually around 1 inch. Okay, so you're going to do 3 of these spaced out a bit so that you can add some notes. Okay, and then divide it into 6 equal sections, 1 inch each. All right, and I'm just going to turn the light on in the room so it's a bit brighter. Okay, so again, with this demo, we're doing tints, tones, and shades using watercolor. So I'm going to go ahead and label to tint is to add white, to lighten a color, to tone is to add gray, to dull a color, and to shade is to add black, to darken a color. Okay, and again, our first block on all 3 is going to be our most saturated color. So saturated means it is 100% itself. It's the color that is straight out of the tube, unaltered. Okay, and as we move this way on the scales, we change it by adding something else into it. So we're going to desaturate. Okay, moving this way with all of them. All right, and again, we're working with watercolors here, so you're going to need a palette that's got wells, and you're going to need to choose a watercolor to work with for your saturated color. You can choose any full-bodied color. You could do a red, you could do a blue, you could do a green, you could do any color that's a little bit darker. I wouldn't recommend a yellow. It's very hard to stretch a yellow and actually get an array of different values from a color as light as yellow or pink. So go for something that's like a primary color or even a secondary color. So for this sake, I might do the brilliant red just because I have a big full tube of it. And in the first one, I'm going to be tinting it with white. I'm going to take my red. And again, if you're working with watercolors and they're brand new, it doesn't hurt to give the bottle a little bit of a massage just to make sure that the pigment in the water is mixed nicely in the bottle or the tube. And again, then pierce the top if they're brand new. The lid should have a little bit of a sharp point on it to help you do that. And you want to squeeze a bit out. Okay, so you're going to take your clean brush, dip it in some water. Okay, and we're going to make that first square and all three charts are saturated red or your saturated blue or your saturated green, whatever color you're going to work with. If you want, you can even do like a different color for each of them. I just like to see how that one color changes depending on what you're mixing into it. So I keep mine all the same. But by all means, if you want to do like a red one on top, a green one below, and then a blue one below, that's okay too. All right. So again, I'm going to add a little bit more red here because I'm running a little dry. And I want a healthy dollop of white. Okay, so you don't want a ton of color here because it's going to take a lot of white to alter it. So if you feel like you've got a lot of red or whatever it is that your original color is here, I would take a little bit out and move it to a new well so that you've got less to alter. Again, if you have a giant glob of color that you're trying to alter and lighten, you're going to end up wasting a lot of white paint. This way, less is more, okay? So you're going to take some white and introduce it in here until you see it change. Okay, and more white. And more white. Actually, this one looks too much like this one, so I might add more white to that one. Actually, just wipe some off. Add a bit more white to it. Okay, remember they should be visibly different from each other. And more white. And the last one should be like off-white. So you're just dunking a little bit of that light color back into some white. See how light you can go without actually going back to pure white. I've got an array of different tints. Using watercolor. Okay, next I'm going to create some tones. So I'm going to mix some gray. To make gray, I need some white and some black. Less black than white, obviously. So black is pretty potent. And mix those two together to make a gray color that you can slowly introduce. Okay, and then I'm gonna rinse my brush. And we want more of that original color. Okay, again, I'm gonna give that first square 2 layers just to make that color that's straight of the tube pop a bit more. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add some gray to it. See what happens. Add some water. Add some more gray. This again is watercolor, so if it runs a little dry, you could just add a bit of water. Okay, and more gray. And more gray. And the last one might actually just go back to gray. Okay, and then the last one, again, we're gonna alter it by slowly adding touches of black.